Hello, and thank you for joining us today on Inkpot with me, Grant Leon Smith. And I'm going to continue working on this Spider-Gwen digital painting. So let's just show you guys here more close up where we're kind of at with it. This is where we left it at last time. And what I want to get to is something like this, at least by the end of today's session. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I went from here to here, or at least as close approximation as I can get. Okay. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of fill this, as long as I'm on the right layer, fill in this a little bit more. I kind of want to bring it at least right to the edge, as long as the shapes of the muscles in the back make sense for that. I'll probably end up smoothing some of this out with the with my smoothing tool or blender tool. So yeah, I'll just come in here now, blend some of this up, get it smoother. So the transitions aren't quite so hard where it needs to be softer. Go back to my paintbrush, a little bit smaller, not much. Now let's just kind of get this body shape a little bit better. Go back to my blender. I do like the Gaussian, or not Gaussian, the gouache blender in this, because it still retains a lot of your texture to it. It doesn't just blur it into a big mass of ugliness, which some can do. So I'm getting kind of fond of using it. Originally I didn't use them very much, but for certain aspects I really am enjoying it. And now I'm just gonna grab a hard brush again. Let's go in there. Some of this that needs to be sharper. Just want a harder edge along that to define the kind of spine area there a little bit better. Okay, I'm liking that. Just gonna grab some of this tone a little bit more. This more of a purplish kind of tone. And I'm just gonna add some of that in here, where the light's hitting a little bit more. All right. Let's go back to this one here. Oops. Okay. Now the hands, I need to do quite a bit of work here. I ended up changing the hand almost completely in this version here. The reaching hand here. Kept this hand pretty much exactly the same, but that I'll need to do some changes to. I'm just going to grab a darker thing here, and I'm actually going to kind of more outline this one. Let's just do this as, or no, I can figure that out. Alright, so I just need to round that off a little bit. What this will do is help me kind of give them kind of a better idea of where I'm going to be doing the racing along this edge here, just to get that shape more the way it needs to be. And it's going to also give me those sharp creases where I need the creases in the hand. Oh, kind of just out here. Going in there, cleaning up some spots. I'm just getting the general kind of lines in the hand in there. Then I can go in and work on the lighting more for this area. I'm just gonna grabbing my oil number 3 brush again in this brush pack, and just gonna add a little bit more shading to soften the transition a little bit in here, and that'll take us very close to where that's going to end up being. All right, I'll make that a bit bigger. And let's make sure we have some lighter tone in there to bring out those highlights where we want them. Alright, so already that makes that hand look a lot better, but there's still something odd with the shape here in this section here. So I'm just gonna fix that with the eraser tool. And that gives us pretty good hand there. So very much like I did in this one, I didn't do as much shading in there, but this was kind of just me to play around with kind of where I want to go with this. One thing you'll notice here too is I have these like bright highlight lines and kind of a shadow kind of fill light coming in there, and I'll probably do that as well to the whole piece. Why is it not selecting? This is an issue I've been having with the hard brushes, where I'm getting a way darker color than my color selection tool is picking. And I'm on eraser. That's what's going on. There we go. And I will transition a little bit smoother there. Okay. Now this hand. This is the one there I made the biggest changes. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to grab this, copy it, paste it here, and I am just going to use that for my reference, since I've kind of already worked it out. Alright, I'm just going to grab this color. Yeah, my eraser here. Just kind of sculpt, cut away the parts that are oh, that's on the wrong layer there. That's gonna bother me later. All right. So with the eraser here, I'm just gonna work on that shape. Let me move this. This might be a good spot for you guys watching, but for me, it's because of where my hand is, it keeps covering it. Need to be able to see the reference to use it. Alright, so then we got kind of here. And then we got kind of the hand going there. Go back to my paint tool. Need that a little bit bigger so I can work a little bit faster. I want this to be here, and I need that thumb to kind of come out. Move that a little bit further away. Oh, it's going to be up a little bit higher. Okay. Do want this a little bit wider. Right. Go to a different brush here, so then can get some softer lines out up. I just decided, I should probably have a little bit more of a plan when tackling this, and that's why I decided to kind of work ahead here. But I was doing that before, but I wasn't really showing how I would get there, and I figure this way, we'll try this way and see if I can better kind of show people more of how I actually got to those points when I make these changes. So I just quickly went in there and worked out different hand kind of position. This one's going to end up a little bit different, of course. I was also playing with different kind of colorations and stuff there, as you might notice. Let's go a little bit larger. I just want to grab kind of like a darker tone here. Get some of the more of the kind of shadow portions in there. Alright, let's reset or move that one for now. Just trying to see how that's working out. Not getting kind of the just trying to smoothen out that transition there a little bit. Sorry guys, I'm just concentrating here. Now these knuckles a tad long. Just going in there, trimming them down. This line here is not good, but what I'll do is I will take my blender in here, try to smoothen out that a little bit, and then I can always go back in with highlight again. And back to the blender here and just soften that up a little bit. Alright. Alright, they'll probably need a little bit more work as we go, but it works for now. Alright, so that's good. Those hands are kind of in there now. Not the best, but it's nice to have kind of a better, more correct shape for what I'm going to do with those in there. Alright. I'm going to work, I think, a little bit on the face and stuff right now. Is this on which level? Yeah, that's what I thought. I put that on the level underneath. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get kind of darker brown here. I'm actually going to fill that with a darker brown. Now, the neck, basically, one thing I've observed is that from a lot of photographs and video of people is that often you'll get kind of two different colors of shadows going into the face. So you kind of start with a more like a brown shade, kind of more in the neck area, and you tend to get more of a bluish in the cheeks, in the shading of the cheeks. You can kind of see it here. So I went from like a brown, and then it adds a little blue, and then in the end I added a little bit of pink to the cheek to make it more rosy. So I'm just gonna kind of redo that here. Now I'm just using the same color as I used in the hair here. Don't have to, it's just it's gonna help in that transition later. For certain parts I am going to use just quickly, I'm just gonna kind of shade in kind of where I'm gonna have the lips, and I will highlight those later. I'm gonna add just a little bit of a depression there, and I just kind of want to get in. I will probably be doing these a little bit different way, but just want to get the kind of eye makeup in there a little bit. Or the eyelashes. Just might as well get this in here. We can refine all that in a bit. Let's bring that there. save in there. In the background, it seemed like. If you ever see me just stop all of a sudden, that's probably what's happening, is that it's doing something in the background, so I just let it save and do its thing. I don't ruin it. I have it set up so automatically does some saving as I work, which is definitely a useful thing. There's been lots of times that it's saved some work. Also, smart practice is to kind of use a new file every time you work on it. So just open up your original file, do a save as, and then put the date. That way, if anything does corrupt in that file, you're only really losing your one session. These are all things that are best practices, but I'll be honest, I don't always remember to follow myself even. Especially when you're working on your own stuff. When you're working, you get really in the habit when you're working for somebody else that you can just go and put a new date on it and stuff. But now what I want to do is I just want to grab kind of a more of a straight bluish tone that's light. I'm just going to go in here kind of in the cheek here, and I am going to lightly put in a section. And I'm just going to grab the color that it creates, and from being mixed lightly over top of the colors I currently have, and it gives you this nice kind of purplish, bluish kind of shadow here. And like I said, you see that a lot in the cheek area of the face, as opposed to the warmer brownish tones. I just want to connect these sections a little bit. And down to where the chin is. And I will work in possibly a little bit rounder of a chin. It just depends on if you want to do the cheeks as kind of more sharp, or if you want kind of a fuller cheek, kind of round out the shape that you're using. I'm just gonna grab a harder brush here, and what I want is, you can see in this one here, you really want to kind of connect these areas here from above the nose to there. Now I will definitely be going more in there with I'm just gonna fill this area for now. With an even brighter tone eventually, but just for right now, I'm working in these kind of tones. Oops, come on, give me a thinner line. There we go. Just where the points where it should be brighter. You can always smooth all of this out with either technique of the doing that. So either going over it and with a with your brush and selecting the colors and lightly kind of pulling stuff out and adding. I'm gonna go in there with the eraser and just gonna change the shape a little bit. Trying to get that more, because it was a little more overly rounded, that area. Just grab my blender again, soften up the areas that need to be softened. Just going in there, bringing the hair in a little further, closer, I mean. What did I do in here? Yeah, I thought I did. Now, like I said, I know that Gwen Stacey is blonde, but you kind of want that dark base in there before you start building the lighter colors on top. At least that's how I work. So, like, the actual skin tones in here are looking pretty good. Now, on my actual reference monitor here, they're a little warmer than they are on my actual drawing monitor here. So, just so you guys know that it's not entirely the most accurate. Now lip wise, I'm just gonna go and grab kind of my darkest kind of tone here. I'm just gonna go in here and, oh, well, no, I'm gonna keep the brown, I think. And I went with kind of like more of like an orangey tone in here. And I'll probably do something similar. Get another brush here. Need smaller brush here. That's probably good. I often just kind of use kind of a series of little lines or little balls in the lips to define kind of highlights and shapes. And you kind of get an idea of the shapes in the lips a little bit. Just soften this area in here too. So I have the smaller brush ready. Come on, select it. Alright, now back to lips. I'm gonna go a little bit redder in my highlight, a little bit pinker. Now when I do my kind of highlight rim light here, it's gonna really help in defining that area. Just softening up the sharp edge there a little bit. Just making that transition there a little bit easier. What do I want to do? Okay, so I had kind of did something different with the nose shape there. So I kind of came it out to a wider point here, which I did like, and then okay, and then I kind of ran that highlight along and up. A lot of this will come out more when I go with this kind of whiter highlight to it, which I could probably start working on. I'm gonna do kind of the lighter highlight here first. Some rim light kind of idea. Sorry, just not getting quite the line I want out of that pen or that paintbrush. Then I'll just go in and refine that shape that I wasn't getting quite the, with the eraser tool, I wasn't getting quite the shape I wanted. Come on. Sometimes it just doesn't want to cooperate exactly with what you're going for. Come on, just work it in. Just a little bit there. Okay. So that definitely already helps a little bit in the shape. Let's grab a little bit bigger. I'm just gonna change the shape of the brow there a little bit. Might be too hard of a transition there. So just keep working stuff until you get it kind of the way you're thinking you want it. Alright. So now I feel a little bit more confident to go in there with the kind of whiter, brighter highlight. I'm not going to be very heavy-handed with it at first. Alright, I'm gonna make that a lot smaller just so I can go in there and do kind of more defined highlights where I need it. Just really going in there with the a smaller tool here, smaller paintbrush, and really kind of getting it more into the detail areas where these kind of whiter highlights are going to be showing up. Might need to do some more work on the lips there later, but just try and get this kind of eyelid shape a little bit better. I'm just trying to darken this area too. It's going to be the biggest area of kind of shade in that area of the face for sure. I don't really like that. Just going to see how much I can undo. I can't undo a lot, but enough that I can kind of pull that back a little bit. And what I need here instead is kind of a highlight in here. And I need to bring that. Alright, I'm just going to save that for now. And I'm going to go in here and just do a little bit more highlights, and I will probably move on to the hair for now. But skin is a lot more reflective than I think people, at least Caucasian skin here. It's a lot more reflective than people kind of give it credit for. I'm just going to grab some of this pinkish tone, and I'm going to grab a soft brush. Just add it in the spots where it's going to be. Ears tend to be a little bit redder. Like I said, this neck area is probably more brown. Usually where you see hard shadows, you'll also see a little bit of a reddish transition, but I'm really kind of liking that so far. So if we zoom out here, you can kind of see where we're at with the face. I think I am gonna just add in right now. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna flatten her, or wait, I'm gonna do the shoes first, and then I'm probably gonna flatten that into one layer, because I really don't need it at this point on multiple layers. It was just because I was stacking different parts of the body. Just gotta get the shape of this foot a little bit more realistic. Not that Spider-Man or Gwen Stacey's Spider-Gwen have very realistic shape feet at all. Depending on the artist who draws them, they can be quite different. But we'll just get some shading in on that, and then and I'll flatten it, and then I'll probably start working on the hair. I've definitely shrunk the foot from the way I had it in the original. That was more from the stretching, like I said when I was sketching it. There was stuff that I elongated a little bit more, and using the transform tool and doing that, it kind of doesn't distort exactly the way you want it to. So I'm just gonna grab this color in here, just so that my shade consistency is a little bit better. So you can see I added a lot of this tone in here, and I will probably go in on just the parts that are the very blackest parts of the face too. Get this larger and just get that shape of the heel in there. Now if you can see what I kind of did in here, I'm gonna basically be doing that same kind of look probably in here. I'm smoothing it out by method of using Alt click and then selecting the colors and keep working over the area, selecting the midtones. See, that works just as good as using your the built-in blender tool. Which I feel like you do have a little bit better control somewhat doing it this way of picking, and also you get a somewhat more aesthetic gradation, aesthetically pleasing gradation. But all my thoughts on that stuff is changing as I work on stuff, so I'm just gonna get the shading portions in there first. In some ways I feel like it just didn't give blending brushes a chance. They do a fairly good job, at least in Clip Studio Paint they do. I don't find in Photoshop that I was ever very happy with kind of the results I was getting, which probably is a big reason why I had the opinions I did of them. She kind of wears like these weird ballerina slipper dealies, so I'll probably have to do some lacing kind of up the leg a little bit. I've seen some artists do that and some not on her, so I don't think it's like a necessity, but I'll probably do a little bit of that. Just kind of, just so I can get the foot shapes kind of the way I want them. Now they'll need a lot of work to get them kind of to this point, Especially if I want to copy the similar shape that I did in that one. But I think I'm just going to flatten that now. Now what I usually do is I will merge selected layers. I'll select the layers and then merge them. And then I'll usually copy, select all, and then copy. And then I will edit, undo, until I have those layers back, and then I will just paste the one layer on top. So right now I have, see, I can still have the full image, or I can actually have these parts as well. Well, I can probably, let's get rid of that for now. Reason for that is then if I ever need to just select something, I have a pre kind of selected section. So I'm just going to do a new layer folder, and I'm just going to put all of those. So I will say that's my pre-drawing phase, and we will have all of those layers in that folder. And then I always have them if I need them. Unless your file size is getting too ridiculous and you really need to start cutting stuff back, then I would suggest that you do something similar. I kind of forgot what I was doing in here. So let's just go and start doing that. I was going to do the outline, but I noticed that I'd have the kind of pink areas of the costume still yet to do in certain areas. So I'm just going to work on those for a little tiny bit here and get those kind of more in line with where they need to be before I do that. So I've been going like an hour. So I think so far today it's been very productive. So I think my idea of just kind of pre-doing a bunch of the work and then kind of redoing it worked out good today. Just depends on if that's going to be too much of a time crunch and slow everything down on how many of these I get out in a day kind of thing. Now I think I want to push that a little bit more purple in that pink in these, just to match more the tones we have in the rest of the costume. I'm just going in there and just going over lightly over the highlighted areas mostly. And that's going to do a lot to lighten up all that. We're almost getting almost a pure red in certain spots there that I just wasn't liking. I really like this kind of purplish shading tone too. That showed up when I went over to that section. So just gonna, I mean, a lot of this is gonna be not as apparent too, just because of the way that the image is designed, or the costume design, because there also has to be the kind of like spiderweb lines in there, which I should put in now actually. I'm just going to grab a kind of a darker thing there. I'm going to grab a trusty brush here and go in You know what? I'm gonna go lighter. I'm gonna go with kind of the highlighted green color there instead. And then there's another line here that I did. Make sure that goes right to the edge of the pink. And we'll do the same thing over here. Oops. I'm just gonna check something here on her costume. I just want to see how that pink kind of goes across the chest kind of area. So this here should probably be white. That's what I thought. Looked a little odd. So I'm just going to go in here, grab this kind of dark color. We'll do that. I'm just going to turn off that reference layer again. And we'll go back to one of these oil brushes here. All right. Let's connect that. There we go. That's better. All right, so then now I'm just gonna do that kind of highlight and rim light. And then we'll probably call it a day at that. Tempted to use the pen tool here instead. I'm gonna try it. Might be too clean of a line, but as long as I can get my bright highlight color here. All right. Might be a little thin. Oop. Oh, what am I getting here? Not sure. what I did there. I pressed something here. Okay, there we go. So there's not too much to talk about with this section here. You're just trying to get it smooth. You can put the smoothing on the brush, but I don't really, I have a little bit of stabilization on there, but I find if you put too much, it's so lagging, and like from what you're seeing to what you're doing, that it can be a little bit distracting from what you're doing. Oops. That is going to be highlighted pretty bright there. I'm just kind of going to be doing kind of like the whole side here. As if you remember, we have these bright lights here that are going to be shining light that way. So that's basically where our main, kind of like our highlight, as opposed to, at least that, as opposed to like where the ambient kind of light is coming from. Is going to be, that's kind of our directional, one of our directional light sources. We're going to actually have another light source coming from behind, kind of backlighting it, and that's going to be caused by the street lights below. So basically we're getting a kind of brighter rim light on this side here, and then we'll be getting kind of a lighter rim light on the other side, and then we're kind of just getting a wash of the light coming from the kind of this kind of shape going in through here, coming from this building over here. Another thing you could do in this program that would help with this kind of thing is you do have the ability to turn these into vector lines, or to draw them as vector lines from the start. And that would really help in doing certain areas, because you can actually alter the line if you don't like it. You can alter its thickness and shape. I just don't feel like it's necessary to do that on this. Also helps me work my kind of steady hand inking techniques. Because you do want, if it's too smooth, it just doesn't really feel like it's part of the same piece. All right, now I'm just going to go in here. And some of these lines I have as dark, I'm just gonna bring in a little bit of that highlight in there. And these are going to be shadowed by this thumb here too, so don't really need to do it all the way through, but we'll probably end up going in. Oops. Cancel. Save that for now. Back out. And so really really does help, as you guys can probably see right away, for the direction of the light. Now next I'll probably just be going in with this kind of tone that we have in here. This tone, which so this is why before I was saying like I'm not worrying too much about the layers not really helping with this part here. You can tell that they were done on different layers. This way better. Doesn't really look like it. Certain parts do, certain parts don't, but in these kind of steps is where we're gonna get everything kind of coming together. And if I just find it's gonna speed up everything if I do it that way, as opposed to trying to get it all perfect and try to be super clean with everything. I find doing this method a lot easier because all my final detailing is going to be done as it's a single layer together, which is going to help with bringing all of that together. I'm trying to do too long of a line there, so I'm going to break it up. Oops. This is when it's nice to have I have a monitor stand that swivels. It's just when I'm recording, I don't really use the swivel. I find that can block the camera and stuff. So I don't really move this all around all over the place, but it's definitely an asset for sure. I mean, this program, you don't really need it because you have the ability to rotate your canvas. I believe most programs have that now, but this one kind of has the easiest version of that I've seen. It's very intuitive, you know where it is. You're not having to click a single button a bunch of times. You can set it to a certain angle. Really nice feature. I haven't become a partner on Clip Studio Paint or anything. That's something I might end up doing, depending on how much I like the program. We'll see. Maybe going forward it just doesn't really work for me as well as I was hoping, or something else comes out. But right now I'm really enjoying it. Now this I'm just going to bring, oh no, I'm going to need a different brush before I do that. Why is it weird? Why is it only deleting Oh, because I had the layers on below it of my original under drawing. I was wondering, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. All right. So one last thing that I think I'm gonna do before we call it a day is I was gonna do the hair, but we're already almost at an hour and a half. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go that layer that I had saved there, and I'm there. I just made the selection for this layer, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna soften up. I'm gonna grab the airbrush tool, and I'm going to click this here, and I am just gonna lighten all of that up in parts. Soften it, blends it all a bit better together. Just going really lightly over it. And there we go. All right, so that's where we're at today. Let's get a close-up here, closer up version of this, and I'll just move this down. So let's just bring a small scroll down and scroll up. So we got pretty far this session. And next time we'll be working on the hair, and we'll be finishing up the detailing a little bit on the body. And then from there we'll probably start on the background. So we'll see if we can get to that point next time. But I want to thank you guys all for stopping by, and if you do, leave a comment if you have any questions, or just tell me if you liked and enjoyed what you watched today. And thank you very much. And I want you guys all to stay creative, and I'll see you next time.